So welcome, Lynn McKeown. It's an absolute delight to be chatting with you today. Lynn, congratulations. You are a finalist in the business category of the 2022 NLP Award. So fantastic achievement. I'm very lucky. We don't get involved with the process of choosing the finalists, but of course I do get to read all the nominations. So I do have your nomination in front of me, and I'd just like to read you a couple of bits that are on it. Lynn, for me, demonstrates NLP mastery, that everyone's a winner, everyone's a leader. She lives and breathes personal effectiveness, culture, values, and all things people. And this person also goes on to write, Lynn helps others strengthen leadership capabilities, achieve career changes, improve psychological and physical fitness, improve workplace culture, and manage stressful events. As Lynn frames it, everyday niggles and wobbles. I'm going to take that one.
That's okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So Lynn, do tell us a little bit more about the work that you do that has led to your nomination.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to chat about this, and I almost feel slightly overwhelmed when I hear the words back, and also even having the conversation, it feels slightly surreal that I am nominated and recognised amongst other amazing experts doing NLP and helping others. What got me to this stage, I'll not go through the CV, however, knowing and having had two amazing careers in aviation and then in pharmaceutical, so much of both those careers were about people and operations and disruption happening and things happening, people, and how you enter into organizations, exit organizations with dignity, how values are so important. And I had a really hectic and also really satisfying career throughout that time.
Yeah.
And one of the things was often the people I worked with, I always recognized there were qualities in them that I aspired to, and I wanted to have them around me, or I seeked people out. And I also had studied HR. So my world in Aer Lingus was HR and operations. And then I took my HR and leadership to pharmaceutical consultancy work. And it's been all of that and trying to find how can I blend HR and the frameworks and the theory and the employment piece with something else that really gets under the skin and helps people either help themselves as leaders and empower themselves, or lead others better and empower other people. So it was that search for meaning and trying to get something that complemented HR. And in that quest, I guess that's where I found a few books and I dabbled at NLP to try and understand how can it fit. And that kept me intrigued and kept me creative and curious about how I can really make this work. And I really understood then that there was a real complement to the two sets of skills and frameworks and such a practical effectiveness of how they just were so grounded in their powerfulness and their usefulness. And therefore I came across Michael Dunlop, and he is a great, amazing guy and also an incredible teacher and trainer. And I immersed myself in doing my advanced NLP and then my master's prac. And during that period of time of studying, I used every morsel of it because I was involved in consultancy in pharmaceutical, but my end user and my client were animal health providers. So I was working with veterinary practices most of the time. So those are businesses with vets being the leaders of the businesses. Very stressful, quite a lot of change, decisions to make, teams to manage, maybe acquisitions to happen, maybe planning for retirement, all of those different nuances of running a business and keeping it going and thriving. So I used every part of it, of NLP frameworks and my blend of HR, to see how can I make a difference and make this so usable and friendly and easy that they don't just learn it in the training that I go through with them. They actually are having conversations with NLP language. They are flipping issues into outcomes really quickly to move forward. They are recognizing when people have blockers and actually having coaching conversations. And I use logical levels to extreme levels on most things to do with people and culture. And really that's the narrative of what I help leaders help join the dots for people to be re-engaged in why they do what they do and what the overall purpose is of them and their impact and the value they bring and what that means for the organization. So I guess that's why and how I blended the NLP to HR to make a difference in the veterinary world. And then from there, when I think back now, 2 years ago, I went full-time into self-employment. I started this business at the start of the pandemic, which at the time I knew was slightly daunting. And of course I was nervous going into it around how am I going to make this happen? Yeah. However, it was exactly that question that gave me answers around how do I apply the business formula I use with every business I work with to myself and get really clear on my strategy, the types of clients I will work with, how I need to be as a leader, what's that mindset that supports me going through the career, the self-employed journey. And my goodness, there was such a need of helping people who help others. And I have had the most incredible year and second year in business, and really had to expedite how I packaged my programs, what way I did my consultancy, what my coaching program looked like. And the other learning of all of that was, it was mentioned to you earlier about just how in Aer Lingus and aviation, it can be crisis and disruption every 3 or 4 days. And also going from full-time employment, where I think in 2019, I had about 147 flights done that year. I was always on the go and loved it. Just went from one thing to the next, and it was fantastic. To 13 flights at the beginning of 2020, up until the 9th of March, to 0. So there was a whole lifestyle change as well of how I ran my life, or how I fitted my work, my routines, my exercise, my dog walking, whatever it might have been. And to me, that just gave me a really clean canvas to look at that whole piece around physical and psychological fitness and health, and setting boundaries and creating a system and a way of life and work that really works and allows me to grow a business and help people who need my help. So for me, a lot of that was that sense of balance and being energized and empowered, and having really good structure and routines in place to do that. And of course, that's a huge thing for the loneliness of leadership and having to have all the answers and trying to run a business and almost being consumed in the business, that you can fall out of love with it very quickly. And often it is helping leaders to step back from that. And I work with them first and foremost around their challenges as a person, as a leader, and how they want to be and what needs to be in place to help that. And then we work on the heart of the business and other people. So that was a long story, but that gives a flavor of how I merged it together to make it work and
absolutely
bring it together.
And it also explains that you, because I've got various testimonials here, and I noticed, and I was thinking, just a few vets in here, and I'm not quite understanding the link with the vets. Of course, now I understand the link with the vets perfectly. So wonderful. So I just want to read to you, as I said, I've got some testimonials here from your nomination, and I struggled to read this one because the printer wasn't working very well. Lynn delved deep with a structure of questions to get to the crux of my anxiousness regarding job promotion and what it was that made me feel how I did. Although I was taken out of my comfort zone, the journey Lynn took me on supported me and led me to now having a great sense of calm, comfort, clarity, and confidence. That was a lady called Karen who wrote that. And then also another testimonial, anonymous one. I can't thank you enough. The last few months at work have been tough and you have been great. So much support and positivity. Thank you. So when you hear things like that and lovely things that people have written, what does it mean to you to have been nominated for this award?
Oh, wow. Do you know, it is, it's incredible to work with some of the clients that I do work with, because they are already really talented and really clear and effective at what it is that they do. And to be able to have either learned from other people or really immerse myself in my own learning and development, and of course hit many speed bumps along the way, and be able to use a really practical set of frameworks and concepts, and I suppose it's a new way of thinking and an attitude that NLP brings to make it, to normalize it, and also to be able to make it make sense to other people as you pass that on to help them. And this is day-to-day stuff. This is what I described earlier about, this is everyday things for everyday people.
Yeah.
Finishing, you know, at the end of career and getting ready for retirement is a huge identity shift. Going through a career where you've found yourself somewhere that you now know you don't want to be, and making that decision and move is a huge shift in life and in who you see yourself as. And am I good to be able to move somewhere else? Am I going to be able to do a good enough interview? Who am I anyway? And really successful senior leaders, directors who perhaps move across organizations or move to a higher level, they also still experience that wobble. And it's creating that really open, trusting space where it's normalized in conversation. And then that coaching method that I use and how I work through their issue and what they want to have happen and the right decisions as they sort of navigate that with me as I ask questions, then I'm able to really help them with one or two techniques that helps them be really empowered and feel really positive and put themselves in a really resourceful position. So some of it is around identity, very much so, and around the questioning self-doubt and the imposter experience. And I use lots of different techniques to flip that, to reframe it, to give home practical exercises. And I complement a lot of those coaching sessions with just wee unique videos that I send on as my follow-ups to help them continue to work on it without me and achieve the outcome. So for people to move jobs and relight their fire and feel empowered again to be in a job that they now love and really can affect change and impact things and be of great value, I love hearing that story back, but not for my own benefit. I just love the fact that I have helped them just open up a bit, see the perspective that they're talking about, use some really good questions and skills and frameworks to get their feet back on the ground, to help them kind of move forward. And to me, that's empowering others, and they are the leaders who are empowering other people. So they are grounded and ready to take on whatever comes their way. And to me, to be able to pass on those skills and have some fun along the way and make it real, that it's normal and we get into sticky positions and how do we get ourselves out of that, that's incredible. And I love what I do. I just love it, because the HR side of me I adore, and I like my employment law piece, and that brings some weight. However, it's the NLP that's really unlocked that new attitude and way of thinking that enhances people and enhances business performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So what one thing in your work do you think is making the difference?
Oh, one thing in my work that's making the difference. And I only can have one thing.
I expect it'll expand.
Oh, it has to. It has to, because yeah, I don't see it's just as straightforward as one thing does it. However, in the most simplistic way of it, the one thing that makes a difference initially is the approach that I believe I take, and many of my peer group in NLP or others that I have met, with that intention and attitude of their approach in meeting people where they are first, and really spending time in understanding and shining that light on on the issues and the challenges, so that then they can work through and process that at a pace that they're ready for, to be able to turn that into what it is that they want to have happen, or the outcome that they're heading towards, or what they want to achieve. So that is fundamental in terms of the rapport and the trust, to really meet them where they are first, to understand. And I believe once you have a lot of that, the openness comes so easily, and things get talked about. And before some people know it, and they say to me, I don't know what you asked, but for some reason I have just told you things I haven't shared with my husband or my wife or my closest, and yet you've just got it all. And that's whenever I can kind of lay it out with them and go, okay, so if we're working on one thing, what might it be? What would make the biggest difference? And then it's empowering them to have control of what bits and how will we do that. And whilst I know what I'm doing, I also have a sense where I'm creating that feeling that it's a real mutual relationship, that they still will head towards the outcome they're after, and I help them get there to take the next step. So that's one bit. The other bit I know I love, and I mentioned it, is I can't thank Robert Dilts enough for his insight, his books, the bits that I have really grasped and thought, how can I make this real in my work life, and how can I kind of stand on the shoulders of him to do a little more in the sphere that I'm working in. And I suppose my coaching program, we uses logical levels all the way through that. So that structure settles people's thinking as they're working out complexities. I use the where with a timeline. I use the behaviors to get them to think about their achievements, their results, their moments where they are proud of. I use the resources, capabilities to skills you had, what you've developed, skills you have now. Resources are people as well. So people that you have around you in your circle that actually challenge and enable you, and create a really holistic piece around that. And then obviously I move up and work with what's important to them and who they see themselves as, and ultimate purpose. And I run that through for one-to-one coaching, and I use that massively in business context when we have merging of two organizations coming together to get them on the same page, or we are like we have had people on furlough, haven't come back into the organization. Maybe the organization has pivoted and have slightly different initiatives and revenue streams. So how do we refresh and bring that also? The rapport and the attitude that I intentionally bring to the conversation and logical levels would be my one thing.
Oh, that's lovely.
I have a third though, Karen, because I like things in threes. I have a third, and that is, and I find this is important too, and it's very much so what I think the NLP and the people in NLP have opened the door to is the collaboration piece around either my peer group and who are my good friends now. Many are working and either self-employed with NLP at the heart of their business, or are employed and using NLP as part of their roles. But the people that you meet, and I know through the last 2 years I've met on LinkedIn as new relationships, however like-minded in terms of helping people with their physical and psychological fitness and health. And I've partnered up with someone in sports and fitness, a guy called Tony Lawless, and I complement what I do with what he brings to it, and that helps deliver even better outcomes for people. Michael Dunlop and Leanne McCafferty, we partner with various programs to just navigate and open more opportunities to really bespoke programs. Other leaders and inspirational stories I've heard from people I've perhaps have been coaching, and they've achieved really amazing things. And I want to invite them back in to speak about their leadership perspective or journey. And they use logical levels to tell their story and anchor their state as they present on one of my sessions. And to me, that just starts to ripple out and share how invaluable this is and how people are using it all of the time. So that relationship and collaboration of connections is incredible. And I have to thank all of them, because that's what allows me to do more of what I do. And it works both ways, and we support each other. So that's incredible.
That's lovely. Thank you, Lynn. So where would you like to see NLP and especially your work in the future?
I would love NLP to be everyday practice from kids right through. Ideally, I would like it to be peppered all through society, from kids right through. I use different conversations with my nieces and nephews around submodalities, around emotions, to help them understand and be more aware of when they get cross because their friend has done something in school, or they haven't got picked, or they didn't win the match, or their sister has ripped the head of their bear, or whatever it might be. There's always various kind of meltdowns and sparks of emotions, and I use it a lot for the kids that have their overnights with me, or we're out on a day trip, and kids' minds are just without limits, and they talk so inspirationally about everything that's possible, and that's NLP. Once you become the adult and things get in your way and experiences shape you, it's learning that skill again that the kids already have had, and taking the limits away so that it empowers you to just see what's possible, and there's always a solution, and what can we do next. So to pepper it from school age, in families and schools, all the way through would be incredible. I have some of my own business outcomes, and I've obviously set different outcomes for myself and the partners I work with, and leveling up my business so that I can scale it and so that it can reach more people is part of my trajectory for the next 18 months. Whoever wants to come with me on that journey is welcome, and that's why I love the collaboration piece as well, because it helps people.
Yeah, endless possibilities. That's wonderful. Thank you, Lynn. It's been a real delight to talk to you and just hear more about the work that you're doing and the impact it's having on so many people, especially leaders and at various stages of leadership. So thank you for sharing that with us. And once again, congratulations for being a finalist in the business category. The winners will be announced on Friday the 13th of May. We'll be sending out more details of those nearer the time. But once again, thank you and congratulations, Lynn.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much.